And welcome back to our second episode of Boys in the Berg. Today we're going to talk a little baseball, switch it up a little. We're talking about the Hall of Fame, a little bit on Barry Bonds, Clemens, should they be in, should they not be in, Ortiz getting in, talk a little about the lockout and some other stuff. So, Carter, what do you think about David Ortiz getting in?
Yeah, only player to get in this year. Career stats, I mean, obviously should be in there, no question.
Definitely one of the most clutch hitters ever.
A little surprising that he was the only one, but that's kind of how the voting system works. Ortiz got 307 votes, 77.9 to just go over the 75% threshold that you need. Bonds had 260, had 66%, just missed. Clemens 257, 65.2, just missed as well. So Ortiz very deserving. But that begs the question, this big debate over Bonds, Roger Clemens, should they be in?
I mean, I think they should, but I want to ask you a question. Like, do you think there needs to be more consistency since Ortiz did get tested positive for using steroids?
I think so. I mean, even though Ortiz's steroid use was very minor, he still used it. And, if you want to say that if you use it once, then you're automatically disqualified from being even a thought about the Hall of Fame, then that's one thing. But having kind of these double standards, I think it's bad for the game. And I will argue every day that Barry Bonds should be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, 100% agree. I think the big problem though with Bonds is like the more he kind of lied about it and kind of hit under the radar about it, which everybody knew he was doing it because you look at the difference from what he looked like in Pittsburgh to now. But he was a Hall of Famer when he played for Pittsburgh. I mean, the stats right here are unbelievable.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I think you have to look at it. Steroids make you stronger, but they don't make you better at baseball.
That's true. I
think a baseball is all skill. You can be as strong as you can, but if you can't hit the baseball, then that doesn't do you any good.
Whole thing is, like, I think he was always at that elite level, but when he took steroids, it made him immortal, kind of. He was, like, unstoppable.
Yeah, it's still hard to, have a guy like Bonds not in the Hall of Fame when people say he might be the greatest player ever.
Change the face. I mean, 14-time All-Star, seven MVPs. That's just crazy to hear. 8 Gold Gloves, so he could do both. 12-time Silver Slugger, 3-time NL Hank Aaron Award, 2-time batting champ, 2-time home run leader, RBI leader. Tired his number as a Giant, is the most homers ever, most homers in a single season, most walks in a single season, best on-base percentage in a single season, and best slugging percentage in a single season too. So, I mean,
again,
come on, seven MVPs.
He was the best player of his generation. He's the best hitter that we've seen maybe ever, but especially in a long, long time.
I mean, 762 home runs. He had 73 in a season. I mean, like, I get the whole steroids thing, but still, you can't deny that.
Again, that's skill there. That's not just the steroids.
I think people act like the big thing is the lying thing, but also they're trying to act like he was like a bum before he did steroids, which is just not true.
And Roger Clemens, same deal. One of the greatest pitchers of all time. The steroids automatically takes his name off of there. I think both guys should be in.
I think Clemens, I mean, like you said, one of the best pitchers, consistent for so long and just great. And another guy who's Sammy Sosa, I think, what's this, his 10th year almost?
Yeah, he's been on there for a while.
Yeah, so he's not getting in probably. Another one, steroids. A-Rod's first year.
Yeah, A-Rod in his first year only got 34.3% of the vote. So, and he's a guy I don't think will ever get in.
That's a shame, too. I mean, I look at Clemens, 11-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, 7-time Cy Young. I mean, he won an MVP, 2-time Triple Crown, wins leader, ERA leader 7-time, 5-time strikeout leader. I mean, crazy. 20 strikeouts in the 9-inning game twice. But steroids.
And some guys that are close, though. Scott Rowland had 63.2% of the votes. Todd Helton, 52%.
I was
Billy
surprised how
Wagner,
they get him.
51. Gary Sheffield, 40.6. So there's some guys creeping up there that, we might see those guys in the next few years as the voting continues. But, it's a shame Bonds and Clemens, both their last years on the ballot. I don't think they get in with the senior vote. So, yeah, I don't think they'll ever make it, but they should.
I just think, the name Barry Bonds is like the household name to every baseball fan. And I think what he did for the game and the impact he had, you just have to put him on based on that.
Yeah, and it's, across generations, you have the names like, Ruth, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, those type of names. Today we have Trout. Barry Bonds is one of those names that is synonymous with baseball, and it's really hard to try to not have him in the Hall of Fame, not have, kids go to Cooperstown and, learn about him and what he did for the game. I think it's a disservice to actually how good of a player he was, regardless of the steroid use.
Yeah, and another thing you have to look at as going in the Hall of Fame, can you tell the story of baseball without Barry Bonds? You can't. His impact was just huge. It was too large for everything for the game. But like you said, he's probably not going to get in because of the steroids.
Yeah, and obviously this also will never happen. But do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
100%, yeah.
I think Pete 100%. Rose is what he did to get banned from baseball. He bet on his team. He was a manager. I get that. Ban him for life. But what he did as a player, he did nothing wrong. He didn't, take steroids or anything. And he has a hit record that will never be broken.
No, probably not.
And he's, again, when you think of baseball, Pete Rose is a name that you
another
think
name up there, yeah.
And so I think he should be in the Hall of Fame as a player, regardless of what happened with him as the manager.
Yeah, that's what they do in kind of like every sport, like even in football or basketball, more so football and now baseball. Like they take that off the field issue stuff. But it really kind of was on the field, but he wasn't a player. So yeah. I think, like you said, separate the actions he did as a player, which he didn't do anything, to what he did as a manager. You get in based on your impact to the game, whether you're a manager or a player. He should get in based on what he did as a player, and he should be in.
Yeah, and and the sad thing is, obviously, Pete Rose will never make it. We know that's pretty much impossible for Bonds. So you can only really talk about if you think they deserve it, knowing that they probably never will get in, which is, I think, is a sad thing.
It's really a joke too. The guys they choose to put in, the guys they don't put in. It's just so inconsistent. I just don't understand.
Yeah. So more news in MLB. As a lot of people know, they're in a lockout right now. Owners and the MLB Players Association is they're in negotiations right now. Main focus is on minimum salaries for players in arbitration. So players for 0 to 1 years, 1 to 2, 2 to 3 years of experience, really raising their minimum salary, helping out minor league players. It's really just helping out the young guys that aren't the millionaires in the game, because you have players like Trout, Harper, all these guys with these huge contracts. But then you have these players who aren't millionaires, and especially minor league. Those guys don't get paid anything, and it's sad because these are world-class talents that are waiting to get their chance, and they're making minimum wage.
Yeah, it kind of destroys confidence almost too when you're getting paid that little. Like, am I not good enough as a player? And plus, I think a lot of owners take advantage of it, to the fact, like, I don't have to pay these guys any money. Unless he's a big star, I don't have to go out and pay him. I could just save all this money, like what the Pirates do almost.
Yeah, and my prediction is I think this continues on into the spring training, which, pitchers and catchers are going to would report normally in a month or so. So I don't think we see spring training this year. It would not shock me if this continues into the regular season. MLB has already said they prepared to cancel games if they have to. So I think we could see a shortened season. I don't think it's going to last the whole year, but I think we could see a shortened season definitely.
I agree.
And another thing about the lockout that I don't know kind of pisses me off is it's, obviously it's helping to, get these younger players and guys who aren't, the big names, again, not the players that aren't millionaires, more money, which is a good thing. It's just the fact that the owners won't budge, and these guys are billionaires, and they can't cough up just a little bit more money to help these guys out. And what the MLBPA is asking for, it's not unreasonable, and it's it should be they should get what they want because it's a reasonable thing and it's ethical too for these players. So
yeah, all you see is like you don't see any of these owners budging for like all stars or halfway decent players. It's more like you said, the big elite stars in the game getting paid tons of money, like Mike Trout's contract, or Machado, or Harper, or Baez got a big deal. That's kind of all they're doing. And that's all you see in the news is these big contracts these teams want to give to the, kind of their new franchise star for a while. And these guys aren't getting paid much, the other guys. So it's kind of unfair.
yeah, well, even as a Pirates fan, I hope this gets solved with so I can see baseball this year. Even though the Pirates aren't good, to watch the game stars, it just put a pause on free agency, which was a crazy free agency so far this year. I mean, the Rangers really went all in to sign Simeon and Seager.
Yeah.
There's Freddie Freeman's a hot name right now. Wondering what he'll do. That cheater, Carlos Correa, wherever he'll go. So it was gonna be really interesting, and this lockout put a hold on that. So yeah. I hope it gets solved so free agency can pick back up.
Yeah, maybe the Pirates will start going out and paying people.
Yeah, only in our dreams.
Probably never happened. It's crazy too to think about it. Like, there's no salary cap in baseball.
And that is a question. Actually, when I'm thinking about that, should there be?
I would like to see one, honestly, because in baseball, some of these contracts are insane.
Yeah, and for me, I will say one thing about the salary cap. It's just because you have the highest payroll doesn't mean you're going to win. I mean, you look what the Yankees have done. They throw money at guys, and they haven't won a World Series in a while. And a team like the Braves last year, who have a decently high payroll, but it's nowhere close to a Yankees or Dodgers team, won the World Series. After Acuna got hurt, they built their outfield at the trade deadline and just fought through the postseason. So although I don't think it's a complete advantage over all other teams, I think it would make the league a little bit more fair and help out the smaller market teams like the Pirates or Seattle or the Royals, something like that, to compete a little bit more. But I don't think the no salary cap is as big of an advantage as some people may think.
I think it creates more of a balance too, in a way, if you kind of put the salary cap in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you try to compare it to other sports too, basketball, even with the salary cap, you can create super teams very easily. Oh, yeah. Football, with the salary cap, it does make things more fair, I think. Even though we see like the Chiefs dominate, and even with that Mahomes' big contract, they still find a way. But it'd be interesting to see in baseball. But again, in baseball, you can pay, one or two guys huge contracts and still not be a very good baseball team, still be a 500 team.
Yeah, the Angels.
But in, basketball, if you get two superstars on your team, you're pretty set. And that's why, baseball is such a different sport, and I think all sports, are different and hard to compare in terms of stuff like this with money and, like the value of having a superstar and how many stars you need to win. That's why I like baseball a lot, because it's a team sport. You need all 9 guys in the order, the guys on the bench, the starting pitchers, the relief pitchers. You need everybody. And it's like when you look at the Angels, you have Ohtani and Trout. Trout, who I think is the best player, not just in baseball, but of all time, and Shohei Ohtani, who's a world-class talent. They can't just carry a team. That's not how it works. Mike Trout can have the best day he's ever had in his career. The Angels pitching gives up runs and they lose the game. But one great player in basketball can, carry a team at any level.
LeBron.
In football, it takes a team too, but if you have a star quarterback, it really makes things different.
Tom Brady.
Hockey is a team game. Hockey's a lot like baseball in the way that you don't need as many stars. You just need a lot of solid players. So I think that's a big difference in, why I guess the salary cap isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, there's big, like you said, with baseball, and the fact that, look at Trout. He's been great since he's got called up to play for the Angels. I mean, every single year he's amazing. And have they made the playoffs with him?
I think they made it once, and I think it was in the wild card game, and I think they lost.
I mean, they had a solid team back in I think it was 2013. They had a solid team, but they, like you said, it doesn't really matter whether you have a Trout or a Ohtani. What Ohtani did this year, I mean, previous year was amazing, but like you said, it comes down to pitching, because Trout could go out there 4 for 4 with 4 homers, but the pitching's giving up twice as amount of the runs they have scored, so it doesn't matter. Everybody has to do their part.
Something that I debate, again, as I just stated, I think Mike Trout is the best player of all time. And the reason I say that is, we're looking away from statistics. I think he's just, in the era of baseball we're in, where pitching is the best it's ever been, he's just been so consistent when he's healthy, dominating. He's always up. It seems like he's in the MVP voting every single year he plays baseball. And when I look at Mike Trout, also defensively, he's one of the best to ever do it. And I look at Mike Trout, I think it's hard to compare eras, but I think this is the best era of baseball we ever had, just because, pitchers are better, hitters are better, faster, stronger. I think, there's a lot of guys that you could argue, with World Series or maybe better statistical career so far, but I still think Mike Trout's the best talent we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing, when I look at value the greatest players in baseball, World Series I don't value as much as like in other sports when it comes to football, when you value Super Bowls, basketball championships. With baseball, I mean, we're talking about how great Trout's been, and he's been in the playoffs once. I mean, Bonds won how many MVPs? 7 or 8?
7, never won a World Series though.
Yeah, I mean, and are we going to discredit Bonds for not winning a World Series? No, you can't. So that's the thing with baseball. I try. World Series is just an add-on, but I really don't. When I'm comparing a player to a player, I don't really use that as much.
Obviously, a great player can help boost a team, but to win a World Series, you need a team behind you. You need the 8 other guys to hit. You need all the pitchers again to pitch well, and maybe a clutch home run here and there, a clutch hit, because of how talented you are, really shows up. But you can't get there with just one guy.
No, you can't. No. Totally agree.
So do you agree with Mike Trout being the best of all time? Do you think it's too early to tell?
Too early to tell for me. It's hard because, look at a guy like Babe Ruth, right? And I wasn't around to watch Babe Ruth, of course, but what he did for the game was amazing, and how well-rounded of a player he was on all fronts, pitching,
literally and physically.
I mean, yeah, and hitting. I mean, and we all know the legacy of Babe Ruth, the great Bambino, what he did for the game. Then you got other guys like Hank Aaron, and you got Barry Bonds, Jeter. It's hard, man. It's really hard to compare guys. But, like, I'm not mad if you say Trout is the best because that's a guy you grew up watching in the era of baseball you started to watch. But baseball is a hard one to really define who's the greatest. Like, when we do football, we know it's Brady. When we do basketball, LeBron or Jordan. Hockey's Gretzky. But baseball's tough. It's really tough.
I think that's the beauty of it too, is because,
Yeah.
I think in football, even when you call Brady the GOAT, it's really hard to compare positions.
Oh, yeah, but his legacy is unmatched.
And all that. I think with baseball is even across eras, you can debate for any guy across any decade that they played in, any era, because I think that's kind of how baseball works. It's a much more of an individual, talent of a player as much as it is a team sport. So I think you don't have to look at, championships and all that to look how great a player is. If you just look up what they did as an individual, because that's kind of, again, how baseball works. It's you individually have to win as a team. It's not like basketball. You can't, pass to each other or throw. You have to get a hit. Then you have to, hope the guy behind you gets a hit. When you're pitching, you got to hope that, if the ball is hit, someone fields it for you. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always going to be a debate. And I think it's good that there's not an outright favorite for, who's the best of all time.
That's what's great about it. I think this could last forever, really, with baseball. Because, like you said, I mean, there's no definitive GOAT. It's everybody's up in a conversation for it, unlike the other sports we mentioned.
Now, switching gears a little bit, this is going off topic from baseball. So I was watching hockey the other day, and in hockey they have, the power play. There's a penalty, you get 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending if it's a minor or major. You get a man advantage. Mm-hmm. And my dad brought up, and I was also thinking, what if, say, in football,
yeah,
if there was a flag, say there was a holding on the left guard, that either you have to play with 10 players, that left guard has to sit out of play, or what I thought, let's say that left guard commits a holding penalty, then the backup left guard has to come in for a play and then, go through the play, and then that guy can come back in the game after. But I was just thinking, it was just kind of interesting, if you thought, and, where it really kill you, say like in a game, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, right? Accidentally gets a delayed game penalty, it's end of the game, fourth quarter, they're driving, it's maybe third down. And Chad Henne has to come in for a play, and how that would really mess things up and, change an entire team scheme and, maybe their season.
That would be fun. That'd be an interesting idea, especially like with linemen. So these because nothing pisses me more off when you get a good play and you get called back for holding.
Yeah,
and I think that could discipline linemen almost. Yeah,
thinking about the playing with one less player. So if there's a pass interference, then that corner's out, and then you have to shift the defense to, obviously you're not going to let a receiver be wide open. I'm not really for the playing like an 11v10 for a play, but I think the substitution thing, I think it would have a minor effect most of the time, but have a really big effect in key moments. Especially if it's against, if you have like your star on your team who commits a penalty and has to sit out in a really important play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that kind of shows your whole team nature and who you count on and whether or not you can win without the star. But like, say you have a team like Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence gets benched. I mean, they're in the same situation. So what's your thoughts like on if it's like a bad game with bad teams?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, as I said, most of the time, I don't think it would matter that much. But I think if you have, especially in the playoffs, where, it's like a must-win game, if you have, again, like a guy like Mahomes, AFC Championship this week, if he were to commit a delay game or an intentional grounding, if it's a close game, end of the fourth quarter, and Chad Henne has to come in to, convert a key first down, that really messes things up. And it would, the Chiefs would probably lose because of that. So, again, I'm not really saying I'm for or against it. I just think it'd be very interesting.
I would like that more on linemen and more on corners who commit
and that's the most common penalties. You have holding on the lineman, and then pass interference calls, or even like an offsides on the defensive lineman or linebacker.
Yeah, some stupid stuff. Like I think it teaches discipline too. It's especially with linemen, honestly, and even corners too.
Yeah, and I don't know, when you think about that, in hockey, I think the advantage of the power play, even though the percentage of the time you score a goal is kind of like, if you had 30 power plays, you might score a goal. Good teams 7-8 times, and that'd be really good. But again, like key games, playoffs, if you get a late, penalty and you give the other team a power play, that really sets them up because they can set up in their zone and just pass the puck until they find a shot. And, it's a lot easier to get a goal on a power play than it is normally. So
honestly, I think that rule should be implemented, depending on the how egregious the penalty is. Say if it's a bad penalty, per se, unsportsmanlike conduct or unnecessary
or a taunting or something like that, unnecessary roughness.
If it's a bad looking penalty or a cheap shot, dirty hit or something, I think that would work perfectly for that. But like offside, okay, everybody goes offside once in a while. I think if you get a couple holdings and it's kind of in the same, if it's the same guy or the same two guys, then yeah. But I think if it's really egregious, then I think that'd be a good idea to do it then.
Yeah, I guess that.
Wait, real quick. What do you think about the intentional grounding rule? You think it should be kept in a game? Because personally,
I do. Here's the thing. If a QB blatantly is just throwing the ball away.
Oh yeah, I totally
If the QB is trying to really, again, it doesn't get called a whole lot, and when it gets called, it's normally because they're blatantly just throwing the ball away. If you're in the pocket and you just try to throw a ball away, then yeah. If you're scrambling, if you don't get the ball past the line of scrimmage, I think that's different than just being in the pocket. I think just keep it because, again, it's not a penalty that happens all that often.
Yeah, but the thing is about I agree with that, but you don't want to commit that because you lose a down and what was it?
Yeah,
was
and
it
that's
5 or
what
10
you could change.
I think you should change how
I would be disappointed if it be a 15-yard penalty but not lose the down, or the 10-yard penalty. Because yards are one thing, but losing a down itself is.
Yeah, the down is huge. I think it should be tweaked really. But like you said, I think you take it out and you kind of get guys just all right, pressure coming, let me throw it out. I don't have to, there's no penalty here, but
yeah,
the whole losing a down thing is just crazy to me. I don't think it should be like that.
It's really costly. And another penalty that might be one of the most costly penalties in football is the kickoff out of bounds, brings it to the 40.
Yeah, that's
here. I get it that kicking out of bounds, because you could just kick it down out of bounds, inside the 10, which I don't know, because you can do it on a punt but not a kickoff. My thing is to the 40-yard line is a lot. It's really a 15-yard penalty from where a touchback would be at the 25. Again, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but when it happens, it's very costly.
Well, you saw in the Bucks game, it happened twice. If you do it twice, I think it should be cut right then and there on the spot. Like, come on now.
And again, it's with these
You got
types
one
of
job.
penalties, where they don't happen enough to where they really impact the NFL as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But when they do happen, they make very big impacts.
I agree. And
which
another
I think
one
is
oh yeah, go ahead.
Which I think is the balance which comes with these penalties. That the fact they don't happen a lot, but when they do happen, they are really costly.
I was going to say another one that happens a lot, honestly, and a lot of them are terrible calls, is roughing the passer.
Right. That they really need to look into roughing the passer, because you watch it. There are some that are just blatantly. It's blatantly a scenario where a guy can't stop his momentum, and
I was just about to say that. Yep.
And here's the thing: a defender nowadays, they don't know where they can hit. Because again, if QBs, they're rushing the QB to try to get a sack. If the QB throws it, obviously the momentum is going to carry them, so they're going to finish the play. You can't go high, you can't go low. It's really hard, I think, for a defender to gauge that in the moment, and they have to pay the price for it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you expect a 250-plus pound man running full speed, like you said, trying to sack the quarterback, just stop on a dime immediately? It's impossible. Or even when you're getting pushed, trying to get to the quarterback from an O-lineman, and you get pushed down, you go into him. I mean, you're not purposely doing that, but there's just like terrible calls this year. Like, you can't even hit the quarterback. It's hard for defenders to succeed in this league. It really is.
Yeah, and another thing they experimented for a little bit and they got rid of. Do you think pass interference should be reviewable?
Yes. Yeah, because there's been some games decided by it, and there's been some terrible calls and then there's been some missed calls. Like, everybody knows the missed call in the Saints game. I personally love that play. I think, Saints not going to Super Bowl is my thing. But, yeah, I mean, it needs to be reviewed. Seriously, because
because I think there are more than not, it's calls on DBs that are just blatantly obvious that there was minimal contact and they still get called. And it's the fact that, you can't even look at it, because again, being a ref is hard. I know that in certain angles, you might not see it correctly, but that's what replay is for, is you can see all the angles to get, the play right. And the fact that you can't review something like that, although, I mean, again, it slows down the game a little bit, but at least it makes it fair for both teams.
Yeah, the thing with refs, I mean, these guys are too damn old. You can't see what's going on. I think there should be seriously, there should be an age limit for refs.
Yeah.
And I was going to say about some of the PIs, especially offensive PI pisses me off a lot, because you'll see guys doing hand checks and they're pushing back and forth and there's contact between both, but they'll call it on the offensive guy for throwing the last jab or the defensive guy, vice versa, when it's just a little bit of contact. There's no egregious holding.
Yeah, let them play.
Exactly. Did you remember the one on Deontay Johnson, I think it was, or was it Washington, 2 years ago, when he slightly touched his back to try to come back for the ball and they called offensive pass interference?
Oh, it happened this year in the Lions game.
Yeah,
late in the game. They had a ball downfield too.
I'm like, what?
I believe it was James Washington, but it could have been Johnson too.
Well, it was one.
And he didn't even push. He just stopped on a dime.
Yeah, he touched his back. I'm like, what?
Came back, caught the ball, and they called off offensive pass interference.
OPI is terrible.
And I was at that game and I was watching from above, and I could see it perfectly. And I don't know how you call something like that.
I mean, yeah, there's just a lot of stupid penalties. One of the worst I saw was in the Vikings-Ravens game when they called what was it? I think it was unsportsmanlike conduct on Eric Kendricks, and he wasn't even playing. He was suited up. He had his hoodie on.
Or what about in the?
I'm like, how do you call that?
What about in the Cleveland Steelers game this year? A call I've never seen before, holding on the nose guard. Yeah. Nose tackle. Legitimately never seen that call before.
Why the hell the nose tackle be holding the center to try to get to the run?
And again, but how so? And it was a pass play. I I'm pretty sure it was in a,
I think
or maybe it was a run
but still.
away. How does that doesn't affect the play at all?
No, I mean, nose tackle. Why would the nose tackle be holding the center? Like you said, anyway, it doesn't affect the play. He really wasn't even holding them.
It's also the thing. I've never heard that called before.
Me neither. I go, all right, holding. I thought I was on the center. I was like, okay, 10 yards back, and I'm like, wait, he just called on the nose tackle.
Yeah, that's what I was. I was like,
play?
Because
they called the wrong play.
They got good yards out of that play. I was like, let's go, it's coming back. They said holding on the nose tackle. I'm like, what the hell?
That was stupid. I guess it was in that game, but that was stupid as hell.
Or maybe they put it in the rule book just for that game.
I mean, they take a lot of rules out, in and out. I hope that one goes out.
Yeah.
They needed Cleveland to, get back in the game a little bit because they suck. So.
Yeah, the NFL has been trying to get Cleveland to be good for a long time.
Yeah, it's just Cleveland's like, we don't want to be good. I mean, that's the bottom line. I couldn't believe people were thinking they were Super Bowl favorites this year. Like last year,
Baker Mayfield is abysmal.
Yeah, you know what though? I don't think he's like bottom of bad quarterbacks. Like Daniel Jones.
I'll give him credit. He did play the season with a hurt shoulder.
Yeah,
but he is. If they want to be good, he's not their quarterback.
I don't think they know their quarterback. Like seriously, they go through one every couple years. That's their problem. They can't stick with the guy. They can't scout and draft the guy. Mayfield's not bad. I think he's probably one of the best they had since Jesus. I mean, go back years from now. But he's like, I don't think he's bottom of the bottom, like really bad. But I don't like. He's like, I put him like D tier.
Yeah, he's not going to take you very far.
He's too small.
Yes, and that's the thing. The guy like Mayfield, his height, for the type of quarterback he is, being able to see over the offensive line is a very important thing. And if you look at Kyler Murray, he has success because he's able to get out of the pocket and be able to throw,
extend the play. Yeah.
Mayfield, I mean, he is mobile, but he's not nearly as mobile as a guy like Murray. So he's in the pocket a lot. And yeah, I mean, he gets a lot of passes tipped. I mean, you saw in that Steelers game, Watt tipped 2. I mean, just blatantly right in his face. And again, height for a quarterback is important. It's not everything, but it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, well, the thing with Murray though is like, how small he is, we all know, but he's so damn athletic, and he can, like you said, he gets out the pocket, extends the play. Mayfield's not a great. I mean, he's a solid athlete, but he's not that type of guy who, since he's short, he's getting out the pocket, running, extending the play. He's a pocket passer.
Yeah,
what he is. But
to end it off here, speaking of quarterbacks that we like to make fun of, we're going to talk about the running back himself, Lamar. And what I just want to do is we've done this before, but by ourselves. But we're going to go down all the teams in the NFL. We're going to say, is Lamar better than this quarterback?
I'm going to be honest with you. Let's go.
So we're going to start off. Bills, hell no. He's not better than Josh
No, he's
Allen.
not better now. No, that's one.
Patriots with Mac Jones.
He's better than Mac Jones, yeah, when healthy.
But here's the thing. I think Mac Jones is a better system quarterback.
Yeah, but okay, I agree with that because
I will say Lamar is better than Mac Jones.
I give Lamar, yeah. He's better than Tua.
He's better than Tua, and he's better than
whoever the Jets. He's better than any. Listen to me. He's better than any Jets quarterback ever. Better than Namath, better than Sanchez, better than all those bums. All right, okay, hit me with the next division.
Hey, Sanchez that 1 year though.
Yeah,
I'll take him.
Yeah, he ran into his own player's ass. All right.
Come on. Patrick Mahomes is 100 times.
Yeah, that's not a debate.
Lamar will ever be. Derek Carr is much better than Lamar. Yes.
Quarterback wise,
he's better.
When I say as a quarterback, I can see that, but when I take in the whole package, I like Lamar better. But if we go off of this year,
if I'm gonna pick a guy that I want to have on as my quarterback, I'd much rather have Carr than Lamar Jackson.
Are we saying who's better overall? Or we're just going off of this year.
Who's just a better quarterback? And just
in your opinion, I gotta be honest. I'll take Lamar over Carr. That's just me. he's proved more in the. I mean, I can't really say he's proved more in the playoffs, but he has an MVP. I can't take that away from him.
Justin Herbert, Herbert is so much better than Lamar Jackson.
He's a beast. I agree.
Broncos, I mean, he's better than both Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, no matter who you look at.
Bums there.
He's not better than Joe Burrow. I don't care, even though this is Joe Burrow's, he's only been in the league for 2 years. He was hurt.
This is the only year I can really compare.
If you just watch both of them play, you can tell Joe Burrow is just a much better quarterback.
Oh yeah, like this is really the only year we can use. We can't use last year because he played 5 games. But off this year, I. But
if I was going to take a quarterback for my team, I'm taking Joe Burrow 10 times out of 10.
And the thing with Lamar, it's just his game style is very risky, in a sense of his injury. I mean, risk reward and injury, what he can do. I mean, he's an amazing athlete. He's fun to watch. He's a fine passer, but nothing crazy with his arm. He's a human highlight reel, kind of like Michael Vick, but I think he's more developed as a passer than Vick was. But go ahead. He's
better. Even Ben just retired, which congratulations to Big Ben on a great career.
Yep.
Definitely gonna miss him. See him in Canton in 5 years.
Yeah, hopefully Brady don't retire this year, man. They'll all forget about him.
Yeah, obviously in his prime, Ben is a much better quarterback.
Oh yeah,
this year. Yeah, you take Lamar. You take Lamar over Mason Rudolph or Haskins.
Yeah.
You take Lamar over Baker Mayfield.
Without a doubt.
Lamar or Ryan Tannehill?
Lamar's a better quarterback, but Tannehill can thrive in a great system.
Tannehill to me is like, because Lamar's bad. He is a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
Tannehill's bad. He's below average, but Lamar's peak is better than.
Way better. And the thing with Lamar is he can win you the game in different ways than Tannehill. Tannehill's basically, all right, I got to have everything going right for me in this situation. Run game got to be good. People got to get open. Defense has to play good. Tannehill's not going to carry a team by himself. But,
Lamar
Tannehill's okay.
I take Lamar than Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Carson.
Yeah. I don't know, Davis Mills, Austin.
You know what, though? If you want to laugh about the Texans being, complete garbage, but
Davis Mills had a good year.
He did. And besides Brandon Cooks and then that bag of chips trade for David Johnson, I mean, David Johnson a bum now, but who else do they have? So Davis Mills is not bad.
They have washed up Amendola.
Yeah, I forgot when I saw him catch a touchdown. I go, man, he plays for them now.
And and he's better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and Lawrence, I'll give him another year. He plays for Jacksonville. I'll give him another shot, but that was bad.
This is one that's really close here. I'm going to say this. Say 7 times out of 10, I'll take Dak over Lamar Jackson. Actually, more like 8. He's a better quarterback.
He's a better quarterback, but it's hard for me to admit because he's a Cowboy.
They both suck in the playoffs.
He's a Cowboy, and I don't like giving Cowboys credit.
Much as that pains me, he's just more complete. He's a more complete game.
He's a better QB in terms of throwing and accuracy and deep ball. But
Lamar's a better football player, though. That's the thing. I think Lamar's a good football player, but he's, an average quarterback.
Yeah, average. Yeah, at best above. So
he's better than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is a bootleg version of him.
He's better than Heineke.
Yeah.
He's better than Daniel Jones.
I hope so.
He's not better than Matthew Stafford.
No, I think Stafford's proven himself a lot this year. So, yeah.
Kyler Murray is close, but I'd rather have Kyler Murray.
You know what, though? It's hard for me to say because with Murray he's up and down for me. And plus, I don't blame it all on him. With his coaches, I think his coach is pretty terrible in Kingsbury. So
I think he's a much better passer.
Yeah, Lamar's in a great system with Harbaugh as a coach. I mean, one of the best coaches, top 20 coach, I think, but of all time. But
I don't know why this one's so tough. Lamar or Garoppolo? Because my thing,
Lamar.
I think he's better, but in his situation, Garoppolo, he does his job very well.
I think if you put Lamar in that situation, though,
yeah,
I think they'd be really good too. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Garoppolo. Look at the all I say is look at the record when he's in and when he's out. It's a big difference. But Lamar's better. I think he's a better quarterback.
You know, even though they had a bad season, he didn't play well. I'm still taking Russell Wilson any day over Lamar.
Yeah. He's more complete in my opinion.
Green Bay Packers, even though he probably won't be their quarterback, Rodgers, without a doubt. Now, everybody, I want you to listen to this. Every day of the week, every week of the year, I'm taking Kirk Cousins over Lamar Jackson, without a doubt.
Kid full Cousins, cornbread.
Let me tell you, Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, is the most underrated QB in football. I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback, definitely top 15.
Yep.
Even though I might rank Lamar higher on a list, I want Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Like we said, Lamar's a better football player. Love my boy Kirk Cousins, but when it comes to passing the ball,
because Kirk doesn't turn the ball over.
No, he doesn't. I mean, and Kirk's year, over 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns to only 7 picks. He had a great year, really great year. Almost top 10 year. I think Pro Football Focus rated him up there as a top 10 year. But Lamar's the better player, of course. Many people say they want Lamar, but I think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback. He is, though.
Lamar, he's better than Justin Fields.
Yeah, and he's better than
he's better than Goff.
What other division we got left? We got
South. He's not better than Brady.
No, he never was better than Brady. Never will be. Nobody is.
He is better than Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, whoever you want to look at.
Or Ian Booker, Trevor Siemian.
Yeah. This is Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I still take Lamar right now, but I mean,
if this is a few years ago, I'm taking Matt Ryan.
Yeah. And also the thing with Matt Ryan too, like I like to see Lamar get a solid receiver. If that would let's be on Hollywood Brown, he's average. Andrew's a great tight end, but I like to see Lamar with a great receiver and what he can do. He's really never had that. Matt Ryan did have Julio his whole career, but Matt Ryan does have an MVP and he went to a Super Bowl. But right now it's Lamar. And
here, this is the best for last, Austin.
Yeah, all those bums. He's better than all. Listen, Tyler Huntley's better than all them bums in Carolina. All right. Who's the other guy? There's a third stringer on Baltimore. What's his name? Johnson?
We're not talking about the Ravens, Austin.
No. I'm saying who's the third stringer on the Ravens?
Some other dude who basically is Johnson? The same player.
Yeah, they're all three the same guys. He's better than any dude on the Panthers. I wholeheartedly mean that.
This is the best for last, and our good friend Brian Jones. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, you better listen.
The Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton.
Sorry, Cam. I'm sorry. They did you wrong. Carolina did you wrong. You weren't okay. Listen, we're going to talk about the real guy who started. The real guy they thought this is our future, and Sam Darnold.
I forgot he was on the team.
Yeah, I hope you did. And then who's the other guy? PJ Walker. Jesus Christ, Carolina. Carolina, man, they could be so good. They're just incompetent. Why would you pay a coach out of Baylor who was okay all that money, and then you give Sam Darnold? Are you kidding me? Out of every other quarterback, you go to Sam Darnold?
You couldn't have just hung on to Bridgewater for a couple of years. You had to go with Sam Darnold.
Are you kidding me?
Did they give up a first round pick or a second or something?
No. It was, probably a second or third. They gave out a first round pick. They might as well sell the franchise for Sam Darnold. Come on now.
So basically, the conclusion we've come to here is Lamar is about he's outside of the top 10 for us, which a lot of people may disagree with. Some people may agree, but
as a quarterback comes. But I think if you put the whole package together, he's right there at 10. But quarterback play outside.
I think he's slowly going to be less efficient with his ability to run.
Yeah, I mean it's evident with every other player in the past.
Here's the thing: if you look at this, when the Steelers play him, he does not run well against Pittsburgh.
No, they kind of
play him. They play him great. They force him to make bad passes, which other teams are starting to do. He is. I'm saying I can confidently say he will never win a Super Bowl.
Probably
on the
not. Yeah, like,
Ravens.
the style of play is just, it's been evident year in year and out. It just doesn't last. It really, you have more of a 4 to 5 year prime, and that window kind of, it closes up real quickly after that.
And it's this style of quarterback, the run first RPO guy, I don't think is ever going to be work in the NFL.
No, it's just because it's it damages your body too much away. Like, look at, like, for instance, Brady or Manning or what's another pocket passer we could say would last long? Breeze. Those guys weren't running. I mean, they were slow as hell. They weren't running out the pocket and do anything. That's why they lasted 20 years.
And here's the thing. I think guys like Josh Allen are great. I think guys like Herbert are great. Mahomes, great. But the thing is, they are elite passers who can move. Lamar is an elite runner who is a decent passer.
There's a huge difference from moving around the pocket into, solely basing your game off, I got to run. This is a part of my game.
QB mobility is really big. QB running ability is less.
But look at Ben in his prime. I mean,
he could move a little bit, but he wasn't great.
He wasn't real fast, but he knew how to get out that pocket and extend the play. That's what you need in a player. Like Russell Wilson kind of was, coming out of college, he was a great passer and all that, but I think he's kind of mixed in, not just being a great running quarterback, but a great passer. And that's what Mahomes kind of does too, because Mahomes not the fastest guy.
But here's the Mahomes moves around. Mahomes doesn't do design runs really. He's a guy that gets out of the pocket, assesses the play, and then he has to go and run. He can pick up 9-10 yards for a first down.
A great improviser, really.
Yeah, well,
can improvise a play really well.
Well, that's going to end off today's episode.
Yep.
Tune in next time. See you later. This is the Boys in the Berg podcast.
Peace out.
Peace out.